Welcome to part 6 of ex12-RPS-rock-paper-scissors project that we're working on, and we're continuing with the JavaScript. And this one we're going to focus more on the results of what happens once we show the images and who gets points and what results are displayed and eventually who wins the game. And this is a finished product that I'll look at here just to review how that part works. And I'll put in my name here, and you can see it's a little different because it doesn't have the bold like we put in last time. And there's my name, and then if I play the game here, choosing rock, that's a stalemate. So there's 3 paragraphs here. One is the winner, and the winner right now just says stalemate, no points. And if I play again, if I hit N, notice that human has 0, computer has 0. Nobody gets points in a stalemate. I'll hit rock. Now, I just lost because the computer got paper and I got rock, so the computer now got a point, I got 0 points. And it says paper covers rock, computer wins. This is the winner of that match. Computer wins that match. And then if I choose rock again, let's just say I'm a guy who always choose rocks. Stalemate, nothing happens. The score stays the same. I'll hit rock again. Computer won. He outwitted me and chose paper and covered rock because he figured I'm just choosing rock all the time. Notice my buttons became disabled here, and there's a final message that says game over, computer wins 2 out of 3. So then you'd have to start a new game and reset. So, and you can make it anything you want. You can make it 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 7 or 4 out of 7 or something like that, anything that you want. But these 3 lines here, and I'm just going to control click or right click. On my laptop I'm control clicking. But if you inspect this, in your inspector, not only can you look at the console for errors and check out where things are at, but you can go through here and find things. But sometimes you could go on this little arrow here, and that way you could go right to what you want. And you can see that that's called winner. That has an ID name of winner. This has an ID name of my points, and this has an ID of comp points. So these 3 paragraphs are the ones that we're going to be focused on because that's where we're going to display information once we get points. So we're going to have to collect points and figure out who gets the points, and then we're going to display that here. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, this part here. So that's the finished one. This is the one we're working on because it has the bold here. And we're going to go back to our code, and a couple things we're going to have to do. We're going to have to set up some more variables, declare some more variables before we get into our functions, and we're going to make global variables. So I'm going to go up in the beginning of my JavaScript code here, and we have one here for human that we did, and it might have just said blank when we first started. It doesn't matter what it says initially for your name. But the important thing was it had to be declared outside of a function, because that way it could be accessed by any other functions. That's called a global variable. And I'm going to put in a comment here right before it. And I'll hit return, and I'll just put global variables because these will be variables that we'll have to use for the rest of our project that we're working on. And this is one of them, and we're going to start off with, we're going to put 2 here for points, so we can collect points. They're basically just going to be collections for points. That's it. They're just going to hold a number, and we're going to add to them, and that's all they're going to do. So we're going to do one called my points, and I'm going to set that to 0, so we have a starting point to be at. And I'll just copy this, or you could retype it. And the next one will be called comp points, and that'll also start at 0. And then I'm also going to put 3 more. I'm going to put one called var, and I'm just going to call it my rock, because that's going to be my choice of choosing rock. And I'm not giving any assignment of a value right now. And that should say var, not nar. And then I could just copy this 2 more times and paste it, and I'm going to have my rock, my paper, my scissors. And what we're going to do with these is basically use these to kind of be like a true false, meaning when you choose rock, we're going to say my rock equals true, and we could use that for our condition. That way we don't have to use our condition and try and figure out, well, what index number is it? Is it index number 0 and 1 and 2? Because you're going to get confused. If you use a name like my rock equals true, then you know right away. And that's going to be a little easier for a condition for us to determine if condition, especially for putting things inside of parentheses and using quotes and all that kind of stuff gets complicated. So this will just make things a little easier. So we have global variables here, and we may have one more that we might have to add, but for now that should be good. We have our points, and we have our kind of our choice. That's what these things, I mean, these things, even if I put here, these are my, choices. I could kind of put there because that's what these, so my rock, my paper, my scissors, they're my choices. And I'll just put my choices here. So it just describes what these things are, if it helps you or not. So that's what that is. And this will be other stuff here. So these are our points. these are my choices, and what we're going to do now is we're going to just focus on our first function for ShowRock, so the first button that we hit, because everything we do here will then be able to copy and paste and kind of set up on the other ones and just make modifications. But for the first one, we're going to make sure that ShowRock works first. And every time we do this, we're going to make sure that we go from kind of a win-lose stalemate kind of setup. So we're going to need to put in a conditional statement. And if you remember, we did a conditional statement up here. It was an if-else. Now that had two scenarios, basically if something was blank and if you put in a name. Well, we're going to have a scenario that's an if, else, meaning there's going to be two conditions, and because you can't, well, I guess you can, but we're going to put an if and then an else if, which is just a second if condition, and then finally an else. So we'll have three conditions, because our conditions are going to be if you win, if you lose, and stalemate. So we're going to try to set it up like that for each one. So hopefully it'll make more sense when we go through it. And I'm going to write my code for my if, else if, and else statements now so I don't screw it up, because the brackets are the biggest thing that cause problems with people. Remember, there's two brackets in the function, that in the opening and closing for the function, and then there's going to be two brackets for the if, two brackets for the else if, and two brackets for the else. So there'll be 8 altogether. So don't screw up your brackets. That's why we're going to do this first. So I'm going to start and just put if, and I'm going to put parentheses because I'm going to have a condition, and I'll just write condition in here because it'll just remind me that I have to put a condition in there. And then I'm going to put my brackets, and there's my two brackets. So if, and then my two brackets, and then I'm going to do else if. And then there's also a condition for that, so I want to make sure I put condition in here just so I don't forget. And then two brackets. And then one last one is going to be an else, and there will be no condition, but I'll still need brackets. Curly brackets, that is. So we should have, there's our pair. There's one pair, two pair, three pair, four pair. So there's one pair on the outside for the whole function, one pair for the if, one pair for the else if, and one pair for the else. So we're going to put conditions in here for each one as we go. So what is our condition going to be? Now we put this thing up here called my rock. Now we're doing the choose rock, so we're choosing rock, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a condition here. Now one thing I just want to point out, we put the if else after these 3 lines. You might say, well, why didn't you put it before? Well, because when we hit the button, we want the images to show up, we want the labels to show up, we want the random images and labels to show up first. Then after that shows up, then we're going to determine who gets points. So that's why we're making that stuff happen first, because things are going to show up no matter what. It's only the points that are going to be conditional. So that's why the conditional stuff is coming after everything's displaying, and we were able to do that first. So everything displays regardless of anything else. So it's only the points that are conditional, so that's what we're going to focus on now. So now in this condition here, I'm going to say, well, actually I have to assign my rock a value here. So I'm going to put my rock, and I already have the var declared, so I'm going to say my rock, and I'll put a capital R here. I'll click on it, and I'll say equals true. Now that's a Boolean. That just means it gets like a true false, so that just means it's true. And I'll put that for my condition. I'll say if my rock, and I have to put equals equals because we're not assigning it now, and I'll make sure I choose that. So all this little stuff you got to watch. And whenever we're using conditions, we want to use these equality, inequality kind of operators. This is an assignment operator. This is equality. That's why we use the two equals. It's determining equality between two. We're going to say, well, if my rock equals true, now we just set it to true, so that's not really a condition, but it has to meet another condition. And that other condition is if. Now this is if the rock wins. Remember, this is the win, the lose, the stalemate. So if the rock wins, what should the random number be? Well, here's our random numbers here. And now the random number will be whatever, but what will the number actually be? For rock to win, rock crushes scissors, so number 2 would be the loser. So if rock is true and the random number that's generated is 2, then that means we'll win. So I'm just going to use the variable here, random number, because we already have that set up. So if we say random number equals 2, then that's the scenario that we win. And what happens if we win? Well, if we win, I'll just go in here. If we win, and then my points is incremented. Now you could do my points, you could do this. You could do my points equals my points plus 1. You could do something like that. That's one way to do it. Or you could just, this is a shortcut, you could just do my points. This is kind of an incrementer. If you just do my points plus plus, that'll just add. That's like a shortcut. That'll just add up points. So if it starts at 0, it'll add up and it'll get 1 point now. Now the else condition is going to be, other than the points, there's going to be no points if we lose and no points for a stalemate. But what else is going to have to happen here? So that's the points. We get our points here. Now the else condition, the computer's going to get a point. So we got to make sure we give computer points here. It's not just about us. So this will be comp points. So computer will get a point for that condition. Now what's that condition? That's if we lose. That means if my rock is true, I'll just copy this in here. The condition if we lose is my rock is true, and random number, what beats rock? Scissors doesn't beat rock, paper beats rock, and paper is 1. So if the random number comes up to be 1, which will show paper, that means they'll beat my rock, because paper covers rock. So that's how we get the points right now, but we're not displaying anything yet. And else, we're not going to put any points here, so we're not going to put anything for points. Now, what we're also going to do here is we're going to display stuff. So now we got to go up to our HTML. And this is where we're displaying stuff. Remember, we have IDs for winner, my points, and comp points, and they have a non-breaking space, and we're going to put kind of a message that displays something if we win, if we lose, and also just the points. So we could set this up any way we want. I know the other sample just had like a colon and then it said points, so we might do that. But let's kind of set this, let's go back and kind of look at this. And if we win, if we get points, we want to display that we have points. So we're going to have 3 things where we're going to display points. We're going to use the $ and the parentheses, and this will be winner. We'll use winner because that's the top line. And that has to be in quotes because it's an ID. So this is that shortcut, that function expression where we're getting that ID, and this is where it's going to display. And we're going to say winner, and we're going to say dot inner HTML equals, and we're going to say, if this is the winner, we're going to say rock crushes scissors, and we'll put it in a string. And we're going to put, we could put human wins because we're the human, or we can customize this, rock crushes scissors, and we could say human wins, or if we want, we could even just do this plus your name. That's the whole idea of kind of personalizing it. And we'll do a plus again, and then we'll do a quotes again, and we'll say rock crushes scissors, then your name, and then we'll just put wins. And that should personalize it, and then we don't have to do it when the computer wins because they're just computer, they're not personalized. So that's the first thing that happens, winner, because we're gonna use another function to actually keep track of the points and display the points. We're keeping track of the points, but we're gonna use another function to keep track of the points and then also determine the winner. So let's just leave that for now. And then we could just copy this thing, and this is the message if computer wins. If computer wins, then in that winner ID in our HTML we'll say, now this is if we lose. I'm going to make sure I fix that. What happens here? This is if they picked paper, and this is the one where we got to say paper covers scissors, or paper covers rock. I'm sorry, paper covers rock. And then this will be basically computer wins. And we don't need any pluses, any variables in there. Everything could be in one string. Computer wins. And I don't know if we want to, I guess we could leave an exclamation point there. So computer wins, and then this last one will be, even though it says winner, and let's put semicolons here to be. I'm going to put, this one is stalemate, and we could just put like try again. That's fine. Stalemate, try again. Or you could say stalemate, no winner. So that's what's happening here. So we got the points, and we have the display, and we have what's happening here. So I guess we can kind of try this out and see if this works so far. We're not going to display any points yet, but at least we can display the winner here. I mean, we could display points if we want to, but we're going to pull that out and put that in another function. Let's just save it and let's just see what's going on here, and make sure. Now let's just check. We have an if condition, we have an else condition, and this else doesn't need a condition. So if it's not 2 and it's not 1, it's going to be 0. So that means it's going to be rock. So that'll be the stalemate. So that's what's going to happen there. So let's just see what we have so far. I'm going to go, and I have this open, so I'll just refresh it. And again, we'll make sure everything works. I'll put in Rich, and I'll submit name, and there's Rich, so that's working. And then I'll choose Rock here, and that's working. Stalemate, try again. So that's working. It's not showing my points yet. We didn't put that in. I'll choose Rock again, and paper covers rock, computer wins. And we'll stalemate, try again. Rock crushes scissors, Rich wins. So it's doing all the versions here. So that's working. And now we just have to make sure that we're yeah, everything seems to be working here. And what we have to do next is basically get the points displaying. So that's what we're going to do next. And what we're going to do here, before we even kind of check the points, we didn't display the points because we're not going to display the points every time somebody wins or loses. We're going to display the points after this whole scenario takes place. So after the if, else, then we're going to put 2 lines of code here. And I'll just copy one of these just because it has stuff in it. You could copy it from anywhere. So I'm just going to copy and paste something here. Now what this is going to be, this is going to be my points, because we have an ID called my points. Remember, those are the 2 up here. There's winner, my points, and comp points. So those are the 3 things. So we already have the winner displaying in here. We already have the winner displaying. So now we have my points and comp points. So it's my points inner HTML equals. Now what happens? We're basically just displaying the points. So my points is basically going to be, we can do it like this. We'll kind of set it up so that we have, I'll put double quotes, since we're going to be concatenating, mixing variables and strings. I'm going to start off with a string with nothing, and then I'm just going to put your name, the variable, and that'll have to have a plus, because remember, you have to use a plus to kind of combine strings and variables. And I'll do a plus again. And then I'll do quotes, and I'll put a colon, so it'll be whatever your name is, a colon, and then a space, and then I'm going to have to do a plus again, because now we're going to display basically my points. Now this is my points, the variable. This is going to be the number that displays here, and I don't necessarily have to, I don't think I have to put a quote at the end. I think I could just end it plus my points and just end it. You could end it with double quotes here like that, but you should be able to just end it like that. So you shouldn't, as long as you're not putting any kind of string on the other side of this at the ending, you should be able to just put plus my points. And you could put a space in here if you like that better, but that's what should display. So we're going to see if that works. And then once you do this one, you could copy this. Now the computer points isn't going to be as fancy because that won't have a variable in it. This one will be comp points, inner HTML, and instead of this, it'll have comp points because it'll be showing the computer points, and it won't have your name. It'll just be showing computer. We'll just call it computer, and then we'll check out our quotes here. We got too many quotes, so it'll just say computer like that. It'll say computer colon space, and then after that it'll say comp points. So we have our plus my points plus comp points. This has 2 variables in it. It has your name it's using as a variable, and it has my points. And we'll see how this shows up here. I think we're going to be okay. So let's save this and see what's happening again. So again, this is the 2 display lines. The one display line is happening once you choose one, because that tells you who won that particular match. And this is just adding up the points after whatever these 3 scenarios are. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to refresh it. And I'll always start off by putting in my name, because if you have a problem with your JavaScript, you could have a problem right at the beginning. So there's my name showing up, and then I'll choose Rock. And remember, we're only using Rock so far, so we can't use these other ones. Rock, and we got a stalemate, try again, 0, 0. That's what we want. Let's choose Rock again. We just lost because paper beats rock. Computer got a point, I have 0. let me choose rock again. I just crushed scissors, so now it's tied up. So now it's 1-1. And now I'll do rock one more time. And now the computer chose paper. It kind of outthought me here because it knew I would choose rock again. So the computer chose paper, so paper covers rock, computer wins. So computer wins 2-1. So technically this game would be over, but because we didn't put any kind of condition yet to when it gets to 2 wins that the game's over, it's just going to keep going. So I could just keep going here and choose paper and all that. Notice I could choose paper and scissors all that I want, but I don't have any points set up for those. So nothing happens when I do that. It only happens when I choose rock right now. So you can see all the points are adding up and all the messages are changing, but nothing happens when I choose paper and scissors because I haven't done them yet. And what's going to happen next is you're going to actually set up the other one. So by doing this first one, what we'll do is make sure everything works first. So you're going to be able to copy basically all this stuff. All this stuff you should be able to copy into your show paper and into your show scissors, and then you should just be switching them up. And all that I recommend is make sure that you keep the winner first, and then the loser, and then the stalemate. So you shouldn't ever have to change the else. The else will stay the same. These things will stay the same. So these will stay the same. The only thing that's going to be changing are some of your conditions here. The my rock is going to become my paper for the next one, and it's going to become my scissors for the third one. And then also the messages will have to change because if you chose paper, it's going to be, you're going to have to move some of these around. So you're not going to be able to just swap out one little thing here. You're going to make sure that you're going to have one that says paper covers rock and it's going to have your name in there. So you're going to have to take your time and switch that out a little bit. But try to work on that for next time. Copy all of this stuff, and I'll even do it now. Copy all of this stuff as long as everything's working, and just go after here for the paper one, and you could do the paper one, and you want to just check, and even when you copy and paste, just check that you have all your pairs of brackets. There's curly brackets, there's 1 pair, there's 2 pair, there's 3 pair, there's 4 pair. Make sure you don't have an extra bracket or anything somewhere else, because there's two brackets. Sometimes with if-else you see double brackets at the end, but we have these things kind of in between there, because so this will actually show up before a function ends. So this will be the same each time, this kind of thing here. So and we could have put that even in another function, but we put it at the end of this one here. So we just have to change some things around next time, and I'll do that I think on my own without you watching it, or maybe I'll start it on the next video. But that's the end of part 6, and hopefully we just have one more left. We should be able to just wrap up these things and just kind of have our finished kind of totals going on in the next video. So that's the end of part 6. So part 7 should be the last one, hopefully in the next video.